I love Trump's 50-year mortgage. Big fan, big fan. And I just, I have to chuckle. All these freaking people like, Trump is an idiot, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to show you why it's so good when we bust out the PVC pipe of knowledge. The PVC pipe of knowledge. So remember, anytime you clash with orthodoxy, you're going to be labeled a kook. Remember, let's just say there's a guy, a doctor, we'll call him Dr. Andy W. Or maybe we'll call him Dr. A. Wakefield back in the 90s. That said, you know, I'm writing a paper about the MMR jabbies, and I'm wondering if we should just separate these out instead of combining them into one. I wonder if we should separate these out like we used to do. And then everybody and their mom started screaming bloody murder and said, oh, the crank, what a crazy man. And then people like Jenny McCarthy jump on this like, man, I saw what happened to my own kid. And people, you're an idiot. Fast forward 25, 30 years, people say, maybe he's onto something. No different than Enoch Semmelweis back in the 1800s. We've seen just case study after case study of people breaking the orthodoxy, being labeled a crazy man. And this is why Trump's got to take the arrows so we can all be free. All right, it's Trump, the man. Now, I don't agree with everything Trump does, you know, but I love what he's doing here. Again, you don't have to do a 50-year mortgage. But the funny thing is, the same people who are bashing Trump are the end the Fed people. Interesting. And the Fed people are the people who say inflation, all right, is killing the value of a dollar. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you not see this? If inflation destroys the value of a dollar, what should you do in an inflationary economy? You should borrow at a fixed rate because the inflation will eat away at that debt. You would loan during deflationary times. You would borrow during inflationary times. This is just economics 101. I cannot believe the end the Fed people can't understand this, who are just bashing Trump. I'm like, do you not even hear yourself? Again, deflationary times, you loan money. Inflationary times, you borrow money because the value of the dollar is declining, making your debt less burdensome every single day. I'll show you here. All right, so let's actually show you right now. That's crazy, man. All right, so a couple things. We got a $400,000 mortgage. All right, that's what we're borrowing. We got 600 payments. That's 50 years. 50 times 12. I had to bust out my trusty calculator to figure that out because I've never done a 600 payment amortization. Pretty interesting. All right, at 7%, we're just going to say 7% for giggles here. All right, so our P&I is $2,400 a month. That's principal and interest. It has nothing to do with escrow. All right, we're just using P&I, principal and interest. Escrow is being taxes and homeowners insurance. That's not part of this P&I. So $400,000 at 50 years of payments at 7% would cost you $2,400 a month. All right. Interesting. If you had a $400,000 30-year mortgage at 6%, it would cost you about the same. So in terms of comparison, most likely it's going to cost you more the longer you go on the lending, right? Most likely. So in this case, you can say, but Josh, I'm only saving $2 a month. Why would I do this? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you why you do this. You're saying, look, I'm only saving $2 a month difference. Why wouldn't I just put a 30-year on a 6% as opposed to a 50-year at 7%? What's the difference? And I say, okay, that's a good argument. We'll show you why here in just a second. It could be wrong. Now, if you had a 7% 30-year compared to a 7% 50-year, and you look, dude, you're not going to get the same rates if you extend the term. I mean, I don't know, but theoretically, well, not theoretically, realistically, the longer the term, the more the lender is going to require as an interest rate to take the risk. The lender is taking the risk here. All right, the lender is saying, look, I'm exposing myself for 50 years, all right? I'm pulling my pants down for 50 years going, hey, I'm going to the girl's bathroom even though I'm a boy. I'm exposing myself. Or a man. So the lender is going to require a higher interest rate. So really this is silly to say, look, the difference is $300 a month. No one's going to give you, I mean, yeah, right here. No one's going to, I shouldn't say no one. The vast majority of people who are going to expose themselves for 50 years are not going to give you the same terms if they're only exposing themselves for 7. In fact, we can even look at a 15-year. In fact, let's do that real quick. So bust out my trusted calculator, 15. The thing's going to fall. I want you to go over here, computer. Oh boy, can you all see that? I need to get over here, I suppose. All right, yeah, there you go. 15 years, 3163. So the same, and the Fed people, they should always be arguing in favor of a 15-year as opposed to a 30-year. And that's at 3163, 180 payments at a 5% interest rate. All right, so we got 5%, 6%, 7%. All right, that's the way it works. So 180 payments. Why would you ever take a 30-year loan when you can get a 15-year loan and save money on interest? Oh, you idiots. All right, but going back to the inflation. All right. You know, I like the fact it follows me, but it's very hard to get used to here. Sometimes it follows me, sometimes it doesn't. All right. So we're going to extend. We got our median wage right now is $62,000 a year. It's about $1,200 a week is our median wage in the United States. 62. Let me go over here. It's really bothering me. There we go. There we go. Sweet. It's $62,000 a year is our median wage. All right. Our payment is basically $30,000 a year. All right. So we got a 50-year mortgage. 600 payments at 7% a year. It's $30,000. It's fixed payment. Our median wage is $62,000. All right. So $62,000 divided by that payment is 48%. Our debt to income is 48%, and no one's really going to give you terms on that most likely. You really need to get your debt to income below. It used to be 38%, maybe now it's 45%. But either way, that's going to be tough to get terms on this right here, no matter what. Anyway, as you can see, the payment stays fixed, but our wages are going up because of inflation. So I'm giving us a 3% per year wage increase, 3% annualized. You can see it goes from $62,000 in year 1 to $83,000 in year 10. Now our debt to income is only 36%. In year 20, it goes 62 at 3%, goes to 112. Now our debt to income, because the payment stays flat, is 26%. All right. In year 30, our wages are 150, our debt to income is 20%. So you see what's happening here, right? Now we got $120,000 above our payment. Here we had whatever that is, $70,000, about $80,000 above the payment. Here we have $50,000. Here we have $30,000. You see what's happening, right? Because we have a fixed rate debt and an increasing wage, the amount of the debt it costs us is dropping significantly as our wages increase, which gives us more disposable income we can use for other things, investing in your Roth, for instance. So now we got, in year 40, we're making 202. But Josh, no one's going to be working until year 40. You don't know that? I started working when I was 15. Well, hell, 13, 11 years. I had a paper out. I started washing dishes when I was 12, 13, something like that. You had to get your mom or dad to sign off on a worker's permit. I forgot what it was. You don't know? I mean, even here, let's just say you are working after 40 years. Now your debt to income is 15%. It's gone down by 75%. And then finally in year 50, we just, for simplicity, we started year 20, now we're at year 7. I mean, you don't have to keep the thing for 50 years. How many mortgages actually do people keep for 30 years? None. I mean, maybe 2. But anyway, you get the point. So now your debt to income is 11%. The point, this whole thing also says is the payment is fixed. Your wages are being adjusted with inflation. And this just assumes a 3% increase, not even getting bonuses or not even getting promotions or anything like that, because you're just a lump of coal like your old buddy Josh. And you're like, I'm just long, dig the ditches, here's a 3% wage. Dig the ditches, here's a 3% wage. I got no skill set other than the PVC pipe of knowledge. Anyway, so you can see our wages are going up, the payment is fixed, which means inflation is eating away at the payment. And if you don't like inflation, and we got to end the Fed, then a fixed rate mortgage for 50 years inherently is beneficial unequivocally. And I don't get why people don't get this. And if your argument is, oh my goodness, we're only going to save whatever, well, you have to make this, or you're going to pay so much more in interest, you can make the bankers rich. You have to say the same thing on a 30-year mortgage versus a 15. And then you have to say the same thing on a 15 versus a 5. Oh, what happened? What happened? We used to have 5-year loans that amortized after 5 years with a balloon payment. What happened back then? Oh, you also have to put 50% down. Why did people not own houses back then? Oh, because you had a 5-year amortization, a 5-year balloon with a 50% down payment. So when your mortgage matured, you had to come up with the funds. What if you're laid off because of the Great Depression? The bank would call the loan. They weren't going to extend terms. You're not going to refinance. And what happened? Foreclosures happened left and right, dude. Left and right, because a 5-year amortization schedule, a 5-year balloon payment, not amortization, 5-year balloon payment matured at 5 years. So in 1933, your loan matured. You already put 50% down in 1928. Now you had a balloon at $5,000 and you had no job. What do you think the bank's going to do? They're going to foreclose on you, which happened all the time. 20% of homeowners lost their homes to foreclosure in the Great Depression. 20%. And the reason was because they ran out of work. They had no jobs and they had to put 50% down previous to that. And the banks foreclosed. And a lot of those banks turned around going bankrupt themselves. What do you think happened to the cost of real estate at that point? It went zhoops. And it sounds like, you could have bought up the real estate at cheap if you had the liquidity. And guess who had the liquidity? Whatever that movie was with, I'm going to capture the moon. What was that banker called? I don't know what the banker, basically their American version of Scrooge. What the hell was that movie called? A Wonderful Life? Whatever that banker's name was. You know what I'm saying? The bankers who survived had the liquidity, and now they can go in and buy up all this real estate. Almost by design. So the FHA came along, Federal Housing Authority, and said, no, we're going to extend terms, 30-year fixed rate mortgages, and lower down payments. And the amount of people that actually own their home jumped from about 40% to about 65%, where we've been essentially since. Oh, but that's freaking evil, is it? You really want a 5-year balloon payment contingent on refinancing based on your ability to have maintained a job, contingent on a 50% down payment? You think that's better? Nah, come on, it's silly. It boggles the mind, dude. It boggles the mind. Homeownership is a key to a modern middle-class society. If this what it takes, and again, no one's going to put a gun to your head and said, you got to use a Trump mortgage. No one's going to do that. No one is. So don't do it if you don't want. I don't care. But to have the option out there, what? It's almost like, I used to debate my man Adam, my roommate Adam. He liked the Dolphins because he doesn't like women, obviously, and I like the Pats. And so we were roommates together in college. I love Adam. He had a dog named Okie, a black lab named Okie. Anyway, I said, why don't the NFL just allow the 2-point conversion like college does? He goes, why? The game is good as it is. I said, but it could be better. Just allow the 2-point conversion. Why not? Doesn't make sense. Why have a freaking extra point to the 3-yard line? That's automatic. There's no excitement there. And then if you're down by 8 with 20 seconds left, you get a touchdown. You're like, okay, we got to kick the extra point. We're still down by 1. Now we got to do an onside kick. But why not have a 2-point conversion? People don't have to do the 2-point conversion. You know that, right? And I never forget, Adam, I don't get it. He goes, the game's good as it is. I said, good. It could be better. Now, people abuse it. People are idiotic. They go for 2-point conversion in the second quarter. That's stupid. And take the freaking points, dude. And they go for 4th down at the, we got 4th and 4 at the, on the opponent's 42-yard line. We're going for it. So no, you kick well, maybe not the 40. Yeah, probably the 42 nowadays. And these kickers are so much better now. But let's say it's a 4th and 3 at you're the Patriots. You're at the freaking Broncos 31-yard line, 4th and 3. You shouldn't go for it there, especially if you're in Mile High Stadium with the thin air. You should kick a field goal there. But we're gonna go for it. Like you take the points. You don't have to. That's the thing. You don't have to take the mortgage, but it's there. All right. God bless. Fondle. You out there who gets offended by fondle? I'm fondling, I'm tickling. We'll see you.